Good morning, St. Paul and the neighborhood and communities. This is your Un-Bougie foodie, Wesley Wright, bringing you, as always, food in your local neighborhood, St. Paul surrounding areas, and other areas of your community. So thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have a very special guest in the booth today, or at the station, James Lekatz. Fellow foodie, previous guest, but he's back. Thank you, James, for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yay. James is actually going to be here, and he's going to be talking about soup, stews, and some broths that you really just have to have during this wintry season. Mm-hmm. But first and foremost, I want you to get reintroduced to the audience and so forth. So tell us what you've been up to, because I know that it's been at least 2 months, maybe
2 or 3 months
since you've been in, and I know you've been busy. We all have,
always busy,
so,
right? Mm-hmm.
So tell us.
Yeah, so I work as an artist around the Twin Cities, mostly with Stages Theater Company, where I'm on staff. But this holiday season, I just did a show that was our 3rd year going at the James J. Hill House in their holiday celebration.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a beautiful place.
Craig Johnson's the director, and we created the show 3 years ago about the history of Victorian carols. And it's this hour-long piece, 4 singers, and it goes through the history of caroling and how, starts in the Elizabethan magical world, these pieces, and then it goes to the Victorian carols that we all know, like Jingle Bells and Oh Holy Night. Then there's a really cool section of songs that have been lost to the test of time, these Victorian songs, and they're wonderful little gems of music. Then we go into my favorite part of the show, which is like Music Hall Christmas.
Okay.
Which are these wonderful vaudeville songs.
Oh.
And they're story songs, right? There's this wonderful one about this guy who doesn't want to have anything for Christmas except for a turkey dinner. Another great one about...
It's about food.
It's about food, exactly. And another great song about, does Santa Claus sleep with his whiskers over or under the sheets?
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's this hilarious. And then it ends with this big mashup of songs that bring us to the 20th century.
Oh, nice.
It starts with Mariah Carey's, All I'm for Christmas Is You, and ends with the Hallelujah chorus.
Oh, cool.
So it's great. And we've been doing that for a long time, and that closed the weekend before the holiday.
Oh, okay.
And then starting tomorrow, if any listeners have any kids ages 9 to 17 who are interested in dancing and singing, auditions for my new musical at Stages Theater Company start on the 9th, Monday.
Very nice.
Velveteen Rabbit.
Nice. Cool, cool,
So
cool.
we start auditioning for that Monday and Tuesday.
What age is it again? Because I have somebody in mind that might be interested.
9 to 17.
9 to 17. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
And it's Velveteen Rabbit, and we're doing it in a really fun aesthetic. I'm taking the show as an old 1930s radio show.
Okay.
So there's a character who's listening to the radio, a story of the Velveteen Rabbit.
Okay.
So we have this character there. We have the whole Foley radio stage happening.
Nice.
And then the whole story of the Velveteen Rabbit is seen through the boy's imagination.
Okay.
And so it's this wonderful musical. It's a very dance inspired, a lot of dance numbers, telling the story, some great commercial jingles from the time period that we reworked, the playwright and I reworked, and then just musical theater standards inside of it.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool. In our conversations most recently, and we got together and was just chatting about coming back on the show, you mentioned something very interesting to me, a project that you want to do, and you asked me about it too, and immediately I'm like, I'm in.
It's a harebrained scheme I have.
Don't worry. Hey, if you are able to do everything that you've been doing so far, yes, I believe that this is going to happen. But please tell us what that is.
Sure. Audience, roll your eyes if you want to, but I want us to be starting a new food blog. A new food blog called Charcuter What? Which is all about what the heck is charcuterie. And so it's a 3-part blog series. So there's one part that writing about what is charcuterie, a pate versus a terrine. What's the difference?
Oh my gosh.
Why do we have these things? And kind of exploring what charcuterie actually is.
Right.
Another section will be me talking about making it, going about how do I make a pate.
No, right.
What's
exactly.
the how do you mousse salmon? I have no idea.
You know what though? I think it will be awesome because there are quite a lot of times people want to do something at home that's very special, you know what I mean? And to hear or have something like that that will give them some type of instruction and everything is kind of like, oh man, I could do this at home. Let me just, get these recipes or listen onto his blog or whatever. And I wouldn't have to go out. We wouldn't have to go to a restaurant to actually have something so nice. So this project is just like exciting. Now I already told them, I'm like, I'm in. So yeah.
And here's the third section, which is the part I'm mostly excited about. And just a reason to go out and eat. The third part will be going around and experiencing charcuterie platters in the Twin Cities.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And so that
James.
will be meeting with a foodie.
Yes.
So me and a foodie, and maybe they can bring a friend, and we go.
Foodie.
Maybe the Un-Bougie foodie. We'll be going out and experiencing charcuterie in town. We'll be sitting down, having the platter, and the goal is to eat everything.
Oh wow! Okay.
Eating tongue if it's there, so moose meat, whatever is got. We have to try everything.
Hey, I'm your guy. I'm not kind of like self-promoting, but I am self-promoting. I'm like, I want to go.
Yeah, and I've never eaten tongue before. I've never had it.
At all. In no way, shape, or form.
Mm-mm. And everybody's like, James, it's so tender. I'm like, how can it be tender? We use tongue is such a used muscle, but hey, whatever. We're all about it. But then that part is, so we're trying it, but then also with the guests, speaking about what's your relationship with food.
Oh my gosh.
How do you come in? How does food? What part of your life is food? Also, what do you do? Let's just talk. Let's just getting interesting people in the community.
Exactly.
Talking about telling their story, who they are, what do they do, what excites them. So I think it's going to be a really fun project.
Oh my gosh, it just sounds exciting. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm sorry, I hope I could be involved. A little bit.
I know. I have the first 3 guests are planned for January, February, and March.
Cool.
You are one of them. Yay. Of course, we're talking about this. So listeners, when I get the blog actually running, I'll send you the link so we can.
That would be awesome.
On the show.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Oh my goodness, I'm excited for you. I know when you mentioned it, I was like giddy. I was like, when is this going to happen, please? Right. I feel like
charcuterie is one of those things that people are often afraid of.
Admittedly, I am, because you want to know what types of meats to put out, what type of cheese, what things can you offer in a charcuterie plate.
Right.
So it's like, does it have to just all be meat? Does it have to be a mixture of meat and cheese? What types of cheeses? What types of meats?
Right. And then what kind of fruit?
Exactly.
And nuts go along with it too.
Dates, grapes, whatever. Mm-hmm. So, getting a better understanding of how that works is... Again, I think everyone that wants to do something exciting and different, they're going to appreciate it. So that blog is going to be fire. Fire.
It's going to be really fun.
It's going to be so much fun.
Demystify the whole idea of what charcuterie is.
Exactly.
Which I think would be great.
And man, everyone's going to be, your other friends too are also going to be excited about it too. Trust me. So don't worry, you're going to be busy. We got to find some really great places that do charcuterie too. Gosh, my mind is racing already, and I'm quite sure that yours is, doing the same thing, because you got to figure out some different places that you got to go to and everything. I'm excited for you. Yep. So congratulations on that.
Thanks.
So before we get to your segment, I'm going to say segment. I make my guests try to feel special. This is your segment. I want to talk about a place that I've gone to, and it's a Mexican place that just recently opened. It's called Pajarito. Pajarito is a Mexican restaurant that is in St. Paul area. And if you're not familiar with it, it is located at 605 7th Street West. That's in St. Paul, zip code 55102. Again, 605 7th Street West, St. Paul, 55102. They're open today from 11 to 11 p.m. But more importantly, the food that they have there. Now, like I said, they just recently opened. They had a soft opening, and then they had a grand opening. And a friend and I had an opportunity to go there for lunch one day, and I love the space. It was in, and I'm not familiar with the history behind the Glockenspiel, but it was a German restaurant, I believe. Yeah. They took over that space.
Oh, cool.
Remodeled on the inside, and they didn't really do it seriously knocking down walls or anything like that. They just simply modified the inside, left the wide open space that it had available, and added certain features, the specific chandeliers and different touches Mexican touches, if you would, and artistry that's in there. So it's a wonderful, wonderful place. It's got a great bar. It's even separate from that of the dining area. So you could still eat in the bar area, but then there's still a separate dining area that you could go to. But the food, though, food was really awesome. I tried a few things. Of course, it was tacos was one of them. And for me, I don't know why it is, but I always feel that I need to try the staples of the tacos. I mean, standardly what I would normally get, and maybe other friends would say, oh, these are the only ones that I would get. So of course I tried carnitas. Their carnitas had avocado, serrano peppers, and onions. There was barbacoa. I think barbacoa oftentimes it's a dark, rich, savory meat out of the sauces that they use. But with this, likewise, it was chipotle, and I love chipotle.
Yeah, it's great. That
smokiness.
Spicy.
Oh my gosh!
So good.
I added to like my chili and sometimes my salsa, but more so the chili, where that aroma and the added flavor it has a little bit of a spice to it or kick to it too. Or bite.
But it's that deep back.
Yes.
It's not like the upfront, like
No,
my mouth's on fire. It's that nice back heat.
That last swallow or something like that is like, oh my God, what was that taste? It was amazing. So, this barbacoa, very similar, had chipotle and crispy shallots. It was on point. Smelt. Don't be afraid.
Wait.
Smelt.
In Mexican food?
Yeah. That was what I was surprised. I was, and of course, fish tacos. Everybody's like, hey, Mexican, tacos, fish tacos. Well, this is a different version, but it's really, really good. So you're thinking, okay, what, smelt is a smaller fish. It doesn't have maybe a little bit salty or overly salty or something. How are they going to prepare it? They prepared it. I think it was, I want to say it wasn't really deep fried. It may have been pan fried, but it wasn't overly overcooked or anything. And then they prepared it with Brussels sprouts and a lime aioli. Yeah, it's some awesome stuff. That was one of the very first ones that I had out of all the three. I had a salad too, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But that smelt. It took me by surprise because I'm like, okay, what Mexican restaurant does not have a regular fish platter? I mean, a fish taco. And then here it's like smelt. I was like, oh, this is going to be different. No, it was so good. So good. So if anybody has been there, please, if you'd like to leave some information on our Facebook page or make a comment, please feel free to do so. I'll post pictures on Facebook so that you could see what I'm talking about. You know me, I love posting mouth-watering food. That's what I do. I'm a foodie. All foodies should. But then there was, my friend had the chilaquiles. You're familiar with chilaquiles, right? It was braised beef, and it had mushrooms and crema and a fried egg. So good, very rich. I don't have anything bad to say about this restaurant at all. Now, mind you, that's not what I do anyway, but I'm saying that in this instance, every bit of this food that we had was great. Admittedly, I am going to bring you foods that are exciting and that you really want to go to and that you're going to have a great experience at. I always feel I have to tell the audience that, I'm not really a food critic, that I'm going in to try to be negative or anything like that. Everyone has their opinions about types of foods and how it makes them feel. For me, I just like enjoying good food. So I'm going to talk about good food, how do I say this without sounding bad? If the food isn't good, I'm not going to talk about it. I mean, I think I want to kind of bring something uplifting, to the audience. And if they're interested and if they hear me talking about food that just sounds delicious or even looks delicious, I'm going to encourage them to go rather than, this place wasn't so good. The fish was oily. This was this way. This was that way. It's like, ugh. And plus I don't want to badmouth the restaurant too. It's like, if I'm not happy with it, I'm going to bring it to the attention of the owner. So keep that in mind, people. When you're out at a restaurant, if you're not happy with something, please let the owners know. And if then, they're they probably don't accommodate you or maybe apologize or something like that, that's different. Then if you feel that, hey, you want to tell your friends, hey, I wouldn't really go to that place, that's understandable. But at least let management know so that they're, familiar. Maybe they could make whatever necessary improvement. Anyway, that was a long tirade. But those chilaquiles were awesome. They were, and I've never had them with the fried egg. So just so you all know, James kind of raised his eyebrows like, what? A fried egg?
Might have made a face.
Yeah. Too funny. The last, which, I've lived in Mexico for 2 years, or 2.5 years. So I remember going to, on Revolucion, major street, or boulevard, I'll say, in Tijuana specifically, there is a restaurant called Victor's. And I remember Victor's, they make their Caesar salad, their entire Caesar salad there at your table. So nothing is like pre-made and brought out, or the dressing is poured over it and then you get your salad. No, they bring a regular uncracked egg. Everything is just, they bring out this rolling tray. Everything.
Nice.
And the guy is just, I'll say the food artist. uplifting. The food artist, he is just scrambling, the eggs, or whipping the eggs, and mixing in the anchovies, and then I think they use creme. Oh gosh, what is it? Creme fraiche. Yes. And then there's some Parmesan and salt, pepper, and you're seeing all these ingredients being mixed together. And then finally, he has like 7 or 8 romaine lettuce leaves that he's chopped up and then placed in the bowl and then poured it over it. And all you get is this aroma of the anchovies and the cheese and everything just mixed in together. And then, of course, they give you fresh cracked black pepper over it. And you're like, what next can you do to me? This salad that they offered at Pajarito was very similar to that. They didn't do it, tableside, but it was blended. The Caesar dressing was just blended so smooth. There was no, it kind of be lumps, which I don't mind that either because it gives it that texture and so forth. But the dressing was just the right amount of consistency, and they shaved Parmesan sprinkles on top. It was off the charts, really it was. And so again, I really highly recommend this place. I will say that as a new place, and with any restaurant, I think their staff probably needs to just build a little bit more, because, and that's not a bad thing, because when you want to see what type of clientele you're going to actually get before you full on, everyone, hands on deck and 20, 50 people or something like that sitting there. But it was busy, and they had one bartender. Now, mind you, I think we probably went about 11:30 or 12 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. So it was going to pick up. The clientele was going to be more. People are, hey, this is a new place. We've been hearing about it. We want to go. It was a little slow. But I think that comes in time, just improvement.
Sure.
I'm quite sure that they have seen, where they need to, maybe add some more staff or something like that, and maybe even realize that, okay, during the hours of 11 to 2, it's going to be crazy. We need to double our staff or something like that. So, but that's taking nothing away from Pajarito and the restaurant itself. The owners are doing an awesome job, what they're presenting, as well as the space that they've created. Please make sure you visit. Once again, that address is 605 7th Street West, and that's in St. Paul, Minnesota, 55102. If you want to call them, I don't recall that they take any reservations, but if you want to just kind of like check and see, you can. Their telephone number is 651-340-9545. That's 651-340-9545. And if you want to check out their menu online, go to Pajarito pajaritostp.com, and that's pajaritostp.com. Gives you a full list of their menus. You'll see that all the tacos are $8. I think the highest priced item on there. Well, that was something interesting I want to mention about them. They offered the highest price item is a bald tip steak. Do you know what a bald tip steak? I didn't know either, but I looked it up, and it's a boneless 3-pound muscle that's found at the bottom part of a beef sirloin butt.
Okay.
So, I guess they call it a bald tip because of the fact that when it's separated, it looks like just a big ball. Oh. But oftentimes on menus, and again, I was trying to figure out where. I don't remember ever seeing this on any type of menus. They refer to it as sirloin steak, and I didn't know that. So I thought it was interesting, and I thought I would bring that out. So anyway.
I have one thing to go on about Mexican food being made at your table.
Right.
So I was just in Orlando last week.
Oh,
and there, my friend Sarah and I went because Harry Potter World is our jam, right? And so we went there just for a couple of days. And there's this wonderful Mexican restaurant in the City Walk.
Okay.
Its name, it escapes me.
Okay.
But guacamole, love guacamole. And they make it at your table. And one surprising ingredient they put in it.
Oh wow.
Was green olives.
Really?
Yeah, for the salt.
Wait.
In guacamole. So you have the normal, you have the avocados, you have the onions, you have the cilantro, the tomato, all the normal lime juice. Mm-hmm. And then they added a little bit of green olives. It was such a surprising flavor.
It was really good?
It was great.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So everybody makes guacamole. Try some green olive in it.
There you go.
Chop it up nice and fine.
Without having to add really a whole lot of salt.
Nope, because it's the olive. Takes care of that.
That's cool. That's way cool. Your segment. I'm excited about this because, like I said, please, people, he is totally prepared and ready to give you a recipe, instructions, whatever, in reference to these stews, soups, broths, wonderfulness that he's about to provide. So please make sure I'm not kidding you when I say grab a pen and paper. I might have to pick his brain afterwards so I could probably get some more of this stuff. But anyway, please, what's your first one that you want to talk about?
I'm going to talk about 2 different soups and 2 different stews.
Cool.
I'll start with stews because they're more in depth.
Yes, please.
This is a perfect season for making soups and stews. We want something that clings to your ribs. That old, the grandpa saying, "Oh, cling to your ribs," right? And it just keeps you warm on the inside.
Never mind. I was gonna mess that up. Minnesota is during the wintertime. I think of it as a meat and potatoes type of season where you want to start I need something hearty because if I got to live through how I'm going to live through this coldness, I need something that's gonna. Yeah, toughen me up a little bit.
Yeah, you do. So this first stew is a basic red wine stew.
Oh gosh,
all right,
already in.
And both of these stews use alcohol in the braising process because I think it's really to get the meat the right consistency. You need to have that sugar breakdown.
Yes,
with the alcohol. So the first one is this basic red wine stew with a little flair at the end, which is the best part about it.
Nice.
So first you take your lardons, which is you can just use bacon.
Nice.
You don't want to go get, make lardons from the butcher. You can just use bacon. Use 5 or 6 strips of bacon and chop it up nice and small and fry that up in your pan.
Can you use pork belly?
Oh, totally use pork belly.
Thank you.
But make sure it's small little matchsticks, right?
Yes, definitely.
Make sure it's that little matchstick and brown it up in your pan. I use my Dutch oven, my Le Creuset Dutch oven for my stews. So, plop it in there. When it's crispy and the grease is in there, take out the bacon bits.
Exactly.
Now, here comes I think one of the most important parts that people skip about stews.
Okay.
And it's browning the meat. It's really important to brown
the meat
first.
Of course.
And so the way to properly brown stew meat is you have to dry it.
I've learned that. Go ahead.
You need to dry it. So is it tedious and boring? Totally, but it makes all the difference. So take some paper towel and 2 or 3 pieces, pat it down in your hands, make it up and dry it. Because what it does, it takes off the moisture from being in your fridge. It takes it off, and when you brown it, then you get that crispy caramelized outside.
And man, if y'all haven't, I'm quite sure there's so many cooks out there or whatever. They know what he's talking about when it comes to that, those brown edges and crispy pieces on the outside. Ugh, God. And keeps
the only way to do that is if you dry your meat.
Yes.
And when you're browning it, this is going to sound a little silly too. Do not crowd your pan.
I've learned that.
Yeah,
because meat, when it's crowded and everything like that, they sweat. They start.
They
sweat
totally
off
do.
everywhere.
And then you have
more
this
moisture
thick
in
liquid.
Yes.
And you don't want that. So
Nope.
take maybe 4 or 5 pieces at a time and brown it. Just maybe like 10 seconds each side because on a high heat with that grease.
Okay.
So it browns and just flip them with tongs. Flip that meat. When it's done, take them out and keep on doing that process. I like to use about 2.5 to 3 pounds of beef
Okay.
when I make stew. So it takes a while. It takes a while to do that, but it's totally worth it.
Cool.
Once it's all brown, put it back in your pan. Toss in maybe a tablespoon of flour. Shake it around and then put it in the oven on high heat because that flour will crisp on the outside.
Oh my gosh.
And it just adds to the crispiness of the beef, and it helps solidify the flavor and the juices on the inside.
Okay, cool.
So that part is done. When the meat's all in there, add maybe 3 cups of red wine.
Oh man.
And here's
Is there any particular type of wine that you
I was
suggest?
going to bring it in.
Okay.
I don't know. The wine I use when I cook is the wine I like to drink.
Hey, because when you want to taste that flavor, extra flavor in the meat or everything in the stew itself, you're going to be reminded. It's like, oh
Yep.
my goodness, this wine.
Yep.
Or okay, not the wine itself, but so much that because it's already a wine that you like to drink, and to have it in the meat and the other vegetables and so forth, you're already going to enjoy it even more so.
Yep. And with this one, it's a Julia Child recipe, and she recommends a Beaujolais.
Oh, okay.
For this one particularly, because you're going to add some saltiness at the end.
Nice.
And the Beaujolais is kind of a nice balance. It's a little sweeter, so it's going to balance out those flavors.
Nice.
But, whatever you like to drink, use it. I would not recommend using, cooking wine.
No.
I would not recommend. Use a wine that you like to drink. Red wine that you like to drink. I would just suggest that.
I'm an apothecary type of person, so people will know what I'm talking about. Now that I know, I'm sorry, that's a little. That it's a wine that's inexpensive for those of us that are, not on the higher end portion of financial means. But no, I totally understand. Because I enjoy a Cabernet, Sauvignon Blanc. Yeah. So
Yep. So you just add that wine in, and then here's my thing about herbs as well with stews. If you want to use fresh herbs, great. Do it at the end.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you want to use dry herbs, which I would suggest in stews, because the dry herbs they rehydrate as you're cooking them, and then the flavors release.
I think I'm sorry I interrupt, but yeah, there was a chef that said that that's when they release their flavors and their aromas and everything when heat hits them and when they're in a stew. So yeah.
And when you use fresh ones, that process happens right away, and the flavor can be lost. So if you want to use fresh ones, go ahead at the very end. Use the dry herbs, and I would recommend for this one, just get a really nice Provence blend.
Okay.
Right? Herb de Provence. So it's oregano, it's basil, lavender.
Oh.
Savory, thyme.
Wow.
Sometimes they have dehydrated onions or garlic in it, but I would suggest just use that because it has all the great flavors that you want. Instead of having a bajillion different jars in your cupboard, grab an herb de Provence. It's great.
Where can you get that? Or just
so I have this amazing jar of it from Trader Joe's.
Oh man,
Trader Joe's. Yeah,
okay.
Who knew? But also Penzies has a really great one.
Oh, cool.
Penzies has a great herb de Provence.
Nice.
And the thing I like about Penzies is that their lavender isn't overpowering.
Okay.
Because lavender can be. It can really hit you. It can hit you.
Vibrant and okay, this is a little bit too much, and just a little pinch of something.
But Penzies is great. Also, Target has
really,
herb de Provence. It's kind of becoming a more mainstream, like Italian spice blend.
Nice.
You'll find it right next to it.
Okay.
It's just a great combination of spices. So put a teaspoon of that in your stew, and so you have the wine, you have the beef. Put the bacon back in as well.
Okay.
Put your herbs. Add a little bit of beef stock.
Oh.
So you have the wine and the beef stock. That it just pairs nicely. So a cup or two. So you have 3 cups of wine and maybe a cup of beef stock.
Cool. Is there ever a time that when you're cooking beef, that you add chicken stock, or you kind of want to stick with exactly what you're doing?
I think stick with the meat that you're doing. I've never used chicken stock.
Okay.
They're very similar in flavor, but I just, I'm using beef. I'm going to use beef stock.
Understood.
Yep. So you have that, and then you add tomato paste.
Oh, okay.
Tomato paste. You think it's why is it super salty? It is, but it adds a nice richness to the sauce. And then you're going to braise that for about a good 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
A good 3 hours. And braising is slow cooking in liquid. Essentially, we're not poaching. We're not poaching it. We're braising, so it takes a long time to braise, like 3 hours.
Okay.
And the alcohol will break down in the wine,
Everything. Oh.
and the sugars, and even in the beef stock too, the natural sugar in beef stock will just break down, and it will make your meat so tender.
Oh my goodness.
So tender.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Now here's the surprise on the end of this one. This is because France is Mediterranean country.
Yes.
You know, the southern part of France is Mediterranean, and it has a Mediterranean flair at the end.
Okay.
Like your last half hour, so cook your braise for about 3 hours, and then the last half hour. So you have after 3 hours, another half hour of just cooking. Add potatoes.
Okay.
Chop them up small, so like in quarters of them. Little baby potatoes, quarter them. Then add olives, black olives,
Really?
and capers.
Ah.
It adds this wonderful brininess to your stew and a Mediterranean flavor to it.
Almost not even having it tasted it, or I don't know if you've made it for us before, but it almost would seem like it add a little bit of an earthiness to
Totally
it.
does.
Oh my gosh!
And here's the secret with cooking with olives, because olives, they're brined in that Kalamata olives.
Yes.
Specifically is what I use. They're brined in that red wine vinegar. It's super salty, super oily. Great. Take about a half a cup, or maybe as much as you want, because if you like olives, great, add more.
Right.
But then drain them, chop them up, then boil it first in water.
Okay.
And all that saltiness, a lot of it will leave. You still have the great taste of the olive, but that super saltiness, which will overpower your stew, will be gone.
Wow. Okay.
So boil it for it's like as soon as the water starts boiling, take them off. Just drain them, and then put those olives and then capers.
Wow.
And it is delightful.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And it's a different twist on just a stew. Your traditional wine stew. It's just a nice twist, adding those olives and capers at the end.
Cool. Good Lord. Yeah. If you're not out there taking notes out there, people, you better be, please. I'm going to beg and ask James. James, please. Yeah, we're going to have to talk a little bit further. And I'm going to get this recipe if he's willing to share it.
Oh, totally.
And I'm going to put it on my Facebook page. You're going to find it under notes. So definitely look out for it. I'll make a note of it so that you're aware of it. What's the next one?
So it's another beef stew.
Cool.
But we're not using wine this time.
Okay.
We're using beer.
Okay.
Right? So you do the same...
Any type of beer or...
Well, let me get to that.
Oh, boy.
So
okay.
we
See,
started
I
with,
always ask these questions as craziness because I'm always excited to try to find out what's the next step or whatever because I'm there.
You start out with the same process, the lardons, the bacon,
Yeah.
cooking it up, then browning the meat, adding a little bit of flour, crisping it up in the oven. Start with that process. And the vegetable in this one is onions. And, I mean, it's not just one onion. We're, talking about 3 to 4 pounds of onions.
Oh.
It is a lot.
And what type of...
And see, I don't know enough about onions to
Okay.
know red ones are great for this, white ones, and then the yellow ones. I have no idea. So what I usually do is I have 2 red ones.
Nice.
I do a white and a yellow.
That's perfect.
Right? 'Cause
Perfect.
I know
the medley.
I know red onions for if you want to caramelize them.
Yes.
You
Perfect.
use those, right? And so you have that deep richness of caramelization when you cook it. And then I feel like the white kind of just is a higher level of taste, and then yellow's kind of nice in the middle.
Yeah.
So you have this different flavor, and you can dice them. I usually just cut the onion in half.
Right.
And I have long strips of it then. So
Nice.
you just cut it in half and then just slice it up.
Nice.
So you have nice big chunks of onion. And they are going to wilt a lot when you cook it. And then you add the beer. Now, the recipe usually calls for a lager. So
Okay.
it's just a basic beer.
Okay.
Nothing fancy. However, I tried making this with a stout.
Oh.
Right?
I could see the richness and everything.
Yes.
That deep... Oh, okay,
Yeah,
go
and
ahead.
just a basic oatmeal stout. I don't really drink beer. I don't really like the flavor of a
Right.
beer. But when you cook it,
And put
that,
it in some
that
meat.
the hops kind of evaporates out.
Right.
So you're left with this great beer flavor, and the stout caramelizes so well with the onions.
And see, I've never cooked with beer before, and that point that you just said, I think because lagers and so forth, especially sometimes the pale ales and the various types, that hoppiness, I'm I can't get past it.
Right.
But cooking it off, just like with wine or any other type of alcoholic beverages, we're talking about food here, people. We're not talking about cocktails or anything. We're talking about food. Cooking, yeah. Anyway, but cooking it off, I never realized that with beer, that hoppiness would probably go away, or at least dissipates.
You're reducing it, so it makes a reduction sauce.
Wow.
The same flavors. You keep the flavor of it; it just intensifies.
Wow.
Right. So the deep richness is great. You could probably also use a great cider in the stew to add some sweetness.
That's me.
Right, and like Social Cider Works, I'll give them a plug because I love their ciders right now.
How come we've never gone? Sorry, I'm switching gears right
They have this great new one I saw at the store, a cranberry one.
Yes.
Oh my. So
have you had it before?
Yeah, it's so great. I never had it from tap, only from a can.
Yep.
But even using those because they're kind of like they're more of a beery cider.
Exactly.
That might be great to have those overtones of that sweetness of the apple.
Yes.
To add that in, and it's like a pint.
Wow.
So just a pint of that beer in there, and again you let it braise for hours. Hours, and it's just the richness of the onions, so it gets really goopy, and that meat's so tender, and it is. Stew season, everybody. It's stew season. My favorite season of the year.
Exactly.
Stews.
Oh, my gosh. See, I'm telling you, that part, I learned something new. I mean, I definitely knew about cooking with wine, but the beer part, I mean, okay, I've seen recipes out there, cooking your chicken with beer or something like that, but this is like a different level for me because now I feel excited to go out and be like, okay, there's a reason why I'm going to go get a lager or something because I'm about to have beef stew and we're gonna do this up.
Yep. And like that talking about when you cook it, like if you don't cook it long enough, it will taste the liquid, the beer will taste what it's called raw.
Oh, okay.
And that's like bring it from the can. If it tastes like the can you're drinking from, that's what's considered raw. Same with wine.
Okay.
If you taste like the wine you're drinking normally, cook it longer.
Wow.
Let it cook, and it will reduce even more, so that rawness of the flavor of the liquor or the booze will go away.
Nice.
So that is raw versus reduced.
Oh my gosh, I'm mouth watering. Let's get to these other two.
Let's get to the soups.
Please.
So this first soup I'm going to talk about is my grandma's recipe.
Okay.
Grandma's recipe of turkey soup. And my dad's side of the family comes from Eastern Europe. Croatia is where my family is from. And the garlic is not really used.
Okay.
Which is weird for us Midwesterners.
Any type of soup or something.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this one is turkey based. So we just had the holidays. Thanksgiving just happened. A Christmas holiday happened. Some of you might have a leftover turkey carcass hanging out in your freezer. I do. And I also have my ham bone. Right?
Okay.
My family just knows, give James the carcass at the end of the night. He's going to make some soup.
Stock or something.
Right?
Yep.
And so it's, take the turkey and just cover it with water. Add a couple bay leaves.
Okay.
Oregano or basil, thyme, just only one herb.
Okay.
Always dry. So like add oregano, add basil or thyme, but just like a teaspoon of one of them. I like thyme because thyme is like my favorite herb for soup. Celery, carrots, just dice them up, throw them in. A whole onion, just take off the skin, plop it in. Boom, exactly. And then the fun, exciting part is rutabaga.
Ooh.
Rutabaga, it's a root vegetable. It's, root vegetables, potatoes, carrots, but rutabaga has this earthy richness to it.
Can rutabaga normally used in a stew or soups or something like that?
I have no idea.
Because you see a vegetable out there and you're like, okay, I know probably of one way to do this, but all the other way, or if there are other ways, not familiar with it or whatnot. So okay, cool.
Add rutabaga, and it's kind of like in between a potato and a parsnip.
Okay,
the flavor of rutabaga, and they're a little orange,
kind of a peppery taste, a little bit. Okay,
and it's great. So add those, and you let it, bring it up to boil, turn it down to simmer, and you simmer it for about 3 to 4 hours.
Okay,
and it's really important. I forgot the tomatoes.
Uh-oh.
Add a can of tomatoes, or if you want to, be all fancy and create your own tomato juice, add that in there too.
Okay.
So you stock that for 3 to 4 hours, and it's important to stock it.
Okay. So what's the difference between stocking and braising?
Yes, stocking is so when you stock, you have the carcass of the animal. Right?
Okay.
So you have the turkey carcass.
Yes.
And when you stock it and make that stock, it is the bone marrow that is being released, which is the flavor of it's the flavor that's melting down into the liquid to create that flavor.
Okay.
And so that's what you would do stock. And an hour is not enough time.
Oh.
It's like, remember that commercial, like set it and forget it?
Right.
Yep, set it and forget it. Do laundry, watch a movie, go on a run.
Okay.
And have that cook for, 3 to 4 hours. It's going to reduce the liquid down by a lot as well. When it's done, take everything out.
Okay.
My grandma always had, it was just, when we had the soup, it was just soup noodles.
Okay.
All the vegetables, you can take them out. I don't.
I love
the vegetables.
I know. I'm like,
right?
I need to have them.
Yep. Take out the turkey.
Of course.
There's no meat in it, so hopefully, you can add meat if it's left over in there. Great. I just don't like turkey. I don't. But turkey
Really?
stock is great. But
Okay.
like turkey meat, it's just maybe my family's never cooks it right. I don't like turkey.
Oh, okay. That's surprising.
I know. Mm-hmm.
You're more of a beef person, I think. Maybe beef and chicken.
Beef and pork.
Okay.
Beef and pork are my meats. But take out the carcass, lean it out, and then if you want to put the vegetables back in, go ahead. They should be a little mushy because they cooked for a while, but they should still keep their shape.
Okay.
Then we add the noodles, and I make my noodles for the soup.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah. And so here's just a basic noodle recipe. So it is a cup of flour,
Okay.
2 eggs, a tablespoon of water,
Cool.
and some salt. And you can use a rolling pin to roll it out. It is this dough. You're like, this is not enough liquid for the flour. It is. You have to work it.
Okay.
You do have to work it and stir it around. You can use your hands, use a wooden spoon, whatever. But it does eventually become a dough.
Okay.
Then put flour out your surface. You can use a rolling pin if you want to. If you have a pasta roller, it's better because the pasta.
This man's a cook, so he's got a pasta maker or pasta roller. So yeah.
Yep. And
I'm jealous.
You can use a rolling pin, but when you cook the pasta, then it's a thicker consistency of noodle.
Okay.
Because the water will get inside the fibers and it'll just plump up. But if you use a pasta roller, just roll it thin. Slice it up into long strips. Cut it in half, and then because it's fresh pasta, you need to boil it to cook it.
Of course.
But it's maybe 30 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Nice.
it is the best. Salt and pepper, and it's just a basic soup.
Oh
but
my
you
gosh.
stock it with tomatoes.
James, you don't know what you're doing to me and probably the audience out there. I'm like, good Lord, man.
And
I hope y'all been taking notes. I'm not kidding. I told you, I hope you have been writing some notes and everything. But don't worry, I am going to ask him to,
I will send
pass
these
that
out.
information because, I will make them available to you all. And the show is going to be available too online as well. So make sure you look out for that as well. So, okay. I think we have time for that. Or would you have more?
I have one more.
One more.
Is
Okay,
that-
cool. Yeah.
And this is a vegetable soup for the vegetarians out there.
Cool.
And I'm actually making this today
Nice.
because it's soup season, everybody.
Yes.
And this one, just put water in your pot.
Okay.
And I have a big stock pot, so you just put water in it. And you start out with leeks,
Okay. I love them.
right? It's in the onion family, I think. They taste like it, but it's just a different flavor
It
of
is.
that onion. So add like 2 leeks, add a whole bunch of carrots, chop them up, and you can use potatoes, but I'm going to use rutabaga
Okay.
because I'm liking that right now.
I'm not. Please correct me.
Yeah.
You say rutabaga. Is there a difference? Because
I don't know.
I was afraid to kind of say. I'm so used to saying rutabaga. So
And I wonder,
don't-
I always say rutabaga, but
Okay.
I'm wondering if that's because, does the I make it plural?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
So okay,
I'm
I'm
not
not,
sure.
trying to correct you
No,
at all because
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm like, okay,
Potato.
Yeah.
Maybe rutabaga.
okay.
And you add that and you cook it and you so stock it for a little bit. Add some herbs, probably thyme or like herbs Provence.
Okay.
Pop it in there. And then as that's going, you can add noodles. I don't use noodles in the soup. I use cabbage strips.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
I'm really into cabbage right now. And I
Really?
know it kind of sounds old manish.
Any particular type?
Savoy,
Oh, nice.
right? Savoy cabbage.
So good.
Yep. So chop it up in thin strips. So that's like your replacement noodle.
Yes.
They're going to look the same. They're not
Mm-hmm.
going to feel the same, but the cabbage adds a great flavor to your soup. And here's the fun trick in the soup. So it's vegetable stock. Add some saffron. Right?
Oh my gosh.
It's going to
I've
have
never-
a fun aroma and it makes this golden color to the
Yes.
stock. Add some saffron to it.
I never thought about that. I mean, well, it makes it seem like I've cooked this before or something. No, to add saffron into soup, I've done it with rice, with curry, or something like that. But
Add it
wow,
to your
okay.
stock. And saffron is the stamen of a flower.
Yes.
So and it is one saffron strand is one stamen. So it's expensive. Expensive, but you don't use a lot of it.
No.
3 or 4
That's like
strands.
a pinch, really.
Yep, 3 or 4 strands, and you can get saffron. Penzies has great stuff.
They do.
And multiple kinds.
They do. I've got to figure out that.
I don't know the difference between each kind. I don't know what they are, but
You
it's
just
great.
go there and grab
I just go
one?
grab, and also Target in their grocery section they have saffron too.
They do.
and it's like $9 for a jar,
Yep.
so it is pricey, but totally worth it because it will last you
Yeah,
for a
for
while. So you add that saffron, and then kidney beans,
Oh,
kidney
okay.
beans, and then also green beans. Yep.
Interesting.
And you can buy frozen green beans, or just if you want to have fresh ones, chop them up. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because you cook it, and that is your soup.
Wow.
So it's herby, vegetable-y, and that fun saffron hit.
Gosh, that part is the part that's got me. I'm like, how I wonder what that's going to taste. I mean, I know it's going to taste great, but that aroma of saffron and everything. And then, of course, I like color. I'm all aesthetics and everything. So to see a vibrant color, come out in like this soup, I could only imagine what it would taste like as well.
And when you serve it, you make a piso to serve it with.
Okay.
And a piso is tomato paste,
okay,
herbs, Parmesan cheese. You whip it together. So it's this chunky paste, and then you just drizzle in a little, like, maybe a fruity olive oil.
Okay.
So add that in, so it gets like into like a it's not a paste anymore, but it's not a sauce.
Right.
It's in between.
No.
And just a couple of dollops of that in your soup to add another level of flavor, and you're golden.
Oh, wow. Dang, dude. I'm telling you, aside from the fact that you want to do charcuterie, what? Yeah, you're going to have to kind of like come up with another portion of that blog and everything and be like, hey, yeah, here's a soup.
Here's a soup.
So, here's a stew or something like that. Because, yeah, all of those sound really exciting. Thank you so much for sharing that.
No
so I
problem.
really do appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here. He's still going to be here. Don't worry. He ain't going nowhere. The door is locked. But, man, I'm telling you, please, if it's not today, over the next few days or soon enough, if you could.
I'll just Snapchat yours, like, picture the recipe to
Oh
you.
my God, that would be awesome. That would be so perfect, because then I could have an opportunity to share it to the listening audience as well. So again, if you are listening and interested in all those wonderful stews and soups that James talked about, please make sure that you visit the Un-Bougie Foodie page, and in the near future, charcuterie what? I'll make it available as soon as he provides it. Take your time. Don't worry.
No
but
problem.
I'm here. I appreciate any help that I might get, and new and interesting foods that I'm able to share with the listening audience out there. Any of you that are listening to WEQY on 104.7, again, the voice of the East Side. This is your Un-Bougie foodie friend and fellow foodie of the show, James Lekatz. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us that information.
No problem.
Before I close out the show, I'm quite sure that you all, the listening audience out there, you've heard throughout the city, even across the nation, actually, because they've been getting national attention, if you would. There is a group called Appetite for Change, and the video there's some young people, and I've talked about this perhaps a couple of weeks ago, but it's a video of young people that they're doing a hip-hop video. I suppose you could say they're just the artistry that they're doing. It's either hip-hop, rap, whichever, but it's enjoyable. I mean, parents, you don't have to worry about, I don't know, it's hip-hop, or what kind of, these are children, so just try to reassure you, this is all good, and it's for a good cause. But they've done this video called Grow Food, and it's I do not have the soundtrack available, but I know that you've heard it. But I bring it to mentioning it right now because on a national scale, people are really taking notice. Here, they're located in Minnesota, but if you're familiar with the San Francisco 49er quarterback, Colin Kaepernick, he made a promise most recently. He has a website. It's Kaepernick7.com. And the mission of, for Colin Kaepernick, his mission statement is that his foundation is to fight oppression of all kinds globally through education and social activism. So he's a person, as you could see from, him taking a knee, he has he feels a personal responsibility to, whatever way of expressing a way of either protest or not even protesting, but expressing himself on how he feels about certain situations. And, whether it be through Black Lives Matter, through his actions of, taking a knee, and that itself has, gone, I won't say viral, but other individuals have, felt the need to do the same thing and show, they want something to be brought to, the nation's attention or the world's attention. Well, for Colin, he mentioned that he wanted to do this promise and set up the foundation. And I quote, I will donate $1 million plus all the proceeds of my jersey sales from 2016 season to organizations working in oppressed communities. And so that averages out to about $100,000 a month for 10 months. And a quote. So he mentioned that, and he really is keeping good on that pledge or that promise, because Appetite for Change actually had an opportunity to be a recipient of those funds.
Oh, cool.
And specifically, again, I bring attention to his website, Kaepernick7.com. So if you want to go there and visit, you will be able to see by clicking on for the month of December where those donations are going to. So not only is he showing that he's being very transparent about the foundation, and anyone that visits the site can see that where is this money going to. Well, our neighborhood, Minneapolis, Appetite for Change, $25,000 in the month of December, and it gives a breakdown of what the donation specifically pays for. $5,000, and just as an example, and one I really appreciate, $5,000 to furnish the addition of one new urban farm plot in the 2017 growing season, increasing the amount of produce grown by approximately 1,000 pounds. So Appetite for Change is getting that national recognition, if you would, and attention is really brought to that organization, and they're getting the donations needed for their support and to continue on with such a great job that they're doing over there, and helping children to understand not only about business but how to grow things for themselves. Nice. And on their own. Man, it's been an awesome time. It's been, I feel like we've been talking for hours. I mean, I know it's been just an hour or barely an hour or whatever, but it's been great having you here, James.
It's been fun.
I look forward to having you again. And we will definitely be talking about charcuterie. What? Oh man! So when we do that, I hope that you will be open to photos and so forth, because I'm a photo person.
Yes, I know. I follow you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see them all. I'm like, oh man, where'd you get this from? Where was this one at?
So, folks out there, thank you all so much for listening today. Next week, I look forward to talking about, it's a place still in St. Paul, but it's called Neighborhood Cafe. And I hope I think I may have talked about it before, maybe last week with my nephew. I don't think I can shed enough light on it. I need to talk about it some more. But there'll be other restaurants that I'll talk about as well, because it's just interesting that I'll have more, I don't know, things to talk about food. But again, as I always want to close up my show, please remember not to let anyone tell you what kind of foodie you are, because it really is all about the food. Until next time, people, peace and blessings.